Hello everyone, my name is Shannon Heffner. Thank you in advance for viewing my Interpersonal Communication Final Project. Let's begin. Interpersonal Communication Final Project, Shannon M. Heffner, Liberty University, HSCO 508, July 4th, 2014. Please advance to the next slide. The outline of my presentation is as follows. Introduction to Interpersonal Communication, definition of interpersonal communication, identification of my overarching goals, level 1 listening, definition of enlarging the conversation, my background information, definition and integration of behavioral blend, communication skills assessment, definition of potential barriers to my communication, solutions to my communication barriers, definition of noise pollution and solutions to noise pollution, action plan to achieve my overarching goals, and conclusion. Please advance to the next slide. It is evident that Stewart accurately defines interpersonal communication across the board. Interpersonal communication is the type of communication that happens when people involved talk and listen in ways that maximize the presence of the personal. The personal consists of 5 primary qualities: uniqueness, unmeasurable, responsive, reflective, and addressable. Interpersonal communication is also when communicators give and receive or talk and listen in ways that emphasize their uniqueness, unmeasurability, responsiveness, reflectiveness, and addressability. All the 5 qualities of the personal, uniqueness, unmeasurability, responsiveness, reflectiveness, and addressability, are included in Stewart's second definition. So the presence of the personal is definitely maximized. Please advance to the next slide. It is important to note that interpersonal communication is centered around the individuals involved in the interaction and not the roles they play within the interaction. It is also important to note that interpersonal communication can occur in a wide variety of scenarios, with family, friends, professionals, co-workers, etc. Many individuals believe that interpersonal communication is the type of communication that only occurs in the professional setting, and that all other communication is impersonal, but all of our interactions with others should be interpersonal. Please advance to the next slide. To further emphasize the importance of listening in the communication process, Burley Allen states that the idea of listening as a skill is unfamiliar, which means individuals do not realize that the majority of communication is based on listening. Individuals tend to focus on hearing what others are saying and forget that hearing is different from listening. Of all the time we spend communication, by far the greatest is spent in listening. Burley Allen, 1995, page 2. The pie graph on the right depicts the specific breakdown of the percentage of time spent on each aspect of communication. As you can see, we spend 40% of the time listening, 35% of the time talking, 16% of the time reading, and 6% of the time writing. In this pie graph, there is evidence that we should all listen more than we talk when communicating with others. Please advance to the next slide. There are 2 main processes involved in communication: inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling refers to the combination of perceiving and listening, while exhaling refers to the combination of expressing and disclosing. Inhaling and exhaling are similar to the human body's process of respiration. Please advance to the next slide. My overarching goals in the learning process of interpersonal communication are to achieve level 1 listening, which is empathetic listening, enlarge my conversation, and not get distracted while someone else is speaking. Please advance to the next slide. To further explain my overarching goals, allow me to define level 1 listening. Level 1 listening, also called empathetic listening, is when listeners refrain from judging the talker and place themselves in the other's position, attempting to see things from his or her point of view. Another part of empathetic listening is not getting distracted while others are speaking, which is another one of my overarching goals. Please advance to the next slide. According to Stewart, 2012, enlarging the conversation is understanding and listening and speaking or responding from a perspective that is larger than your own. What is necessary to enlarge the conversation? Identification of potential barriers to communication, appropriate responses to these barriers to communication, and knowledge and awareness of personal communication style. Please advance to the next slide. A great example of barriers to enlarging the conversation is found in Peterson's model of flat brain syndrome. This is when the stomach becomes bloated with residual hurt and emotional anxiety, the heart becomes hard and can no longer be open to others, and the brain becomes flat and blames everyone else for problems. Thoughts, sight, and hearing become distorted. Please advance to the next slide. Here's a comprehensive overview of my background, including the positive and negative influences it has on my personality, and communication style. I'm Caucasian, female, I have married parents in a healthy relationship, I'm an only child, I have a master's degree, I'm introverted, I'm persistent, I am honest, and I'm quiet. Some positive influences from my background are that I am well-rounded, I was raised in a healthy environment, I had and have a very supportive family, and I am knowledgeable. Some negative influences from my background are that I am easily influenced, I am taken advantage of frequently, and I often set lofty goals that are sometimes unattainable. Please advance to the next slide. My behavioral blend. According to Carbonell 2008, human personality types are best described in the 4-temperament model of human behavior, also known as the DISC model. My behavioral blend is SCI. As you can see on the right side of the slide, the pie graph depicts Carbonell's DISC model. Temperament D is characterized by dominance, directiveness, and determination. Temperament I is characterized by influence and inspiration. Temperament S is characterized by submissiveness and sensitivity. Temperament C is characterized by cautiousness and confidence. The DISC model measures interpersonal communication on a scale ranging from active outgoing at one extreme to passive reserved at the other extreme. The brown section D and the red section I represent active, while the blue section S and the yellow section C represent passive. Sections D and C tend to be more task-oriented, while sections I and S tend to be more people-oriented. Please advance to the next slide. Behavioral blends can be broken down into 2 categories. This is expected of me, and this is me. My SC behavioral blend of this is expected of me means that I have interest in other people, I am open to others, stand out in a crowd, I am funny, influencing, I am a peacemaker, I have over attention to detail, I am indecisive, and resistant to change. My SCI behavioral blend of this is me means that I am inspiring, friendly, compliant, sensitive, personal, team player, worry excessively, not a take-charge leader, naive, and over-analytical. Please advance to the next slide. Another assessment for measuring communication skills is Discovery Health's Communication Skills Assessment. According to the Discovery Health Communication Skills Assessment, I am fairly adept at interpreting other people's words and actions and seeing things from their perspective, although the rare misunderstanding may occur. You can sense what others are thinking and will likely adjust your behavior accordingly if the person you are conversing with seems confused or perhaps uncomfortable. My overall score is 78, which means I have fairly good communication skills, but there is much room to improve until I reach the maximum score of 100. Please advance to the next slide. Some potential barriers to my communication are that I am sometimes intimidated by difficult conversations, I occasionally engage in negative self-talk and can be pessimistic, I frequently place others before myself and have a tendency to value others' opinions above my own, I allow my mind to wander at times when others are speaking, my listening becomes impaired, I am hesitant at times when it comes to self-disclosure, and I am still learning about cultural differences in communication styles. Please advance to the next slide. Possible solutions to my barriers of communication are: I need to realize that difficult conversations are necessary and unavoidable, practice self-talk and be more positive, be confident in my values and share them appropriately with others, practice active empathetic listening to gain more focus in communication, learn that what other people think about me does not dictate who I truly am, become more aware of cultural differences in communication styles. Style differences create difficult problems that are often related to differences in cultural backgrounds. Dubinskas, 1992. Please advance to the next slide. Noise pollution can be identified as any disruption in communication. There are two types of noise pollution, internal and external. Some examples of internal noise pollution are fatigue, personal problems, filters, and emotions. Some examples of external noise pollution are fidgeting, temperature, speaking too fast, speaking too slow, time constraint, and noisiness. Please advance to the next slide. Solutions to the previously stated internal noise pollution examples are active listening, leaving personal problems behind, clearing your mind to be completely open to others, and setting emotions aside for later evaluation. Solutions to the previously stated external noise pollution examples are focus all attention on the speaker and sit as still as possible, find a place with a comfortable temperature, be aware of your speaking speed. Please advance to the next slide. My action plan to achieve my overarching goals. According to Muck 2011, communication behavior is directly influenced by the personality of an individual, and it has a biological base. Gaining a deeper understanding of my personality and how it relates to my communication style, actively listening to those who are speaking, becoming more positive and confident, practicing empathetic listening, practicing my methods of conflict resolution, and being continually aware of the inhaling and exhaling process. Please advance to the next slide. In the conclusion to my presentation, I would like to cite this passage from the Bible. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. James chapter 1, verse 19. The above passage from the Bible is a summative depiction of what effective interpersonal communication should be. We should spend more of our time listening to others, less time speaking, and be able to set our emotions aside for later evaluation. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you all have a blessed future ahead. Please advance to the last two slides for references.